Hello and welcome. In this video, we will learn about magic methods. Alright. Magic methods are also known as dunder methods, meaning double underscore methods. Okay. We typically find these within classes and we are already familiar with the init method, right? We have two underscores before init and two underscores after init, right? This is one magic method. But then there are many other magic methods like this in Python. And in this video, we will learn a few beginner friendly dunder methods. Alright. So the speciality of these methods is that they are automatically called by using some of the Python's built-in operations, such as printing an object or seeing if two objects are equal or seeing if one object is greater than or less than another and so on. Okay. When we use many of the Python's built-in operations with objects, we can define and customize the behavior of those objects. Okay. So let us go ahead and learn about magic methods. Okay. So here I have a class of rectangle and inside this init method we are setting the length and the width of the rectangle. Okay. Now when we call the class of rectangle and pass in arguments, the init method will be called automatically behind the scenes. And within this method, we can define and customize the behavior of objects. And in this example, we are just assigning the attributes of length and width. Alright. Now let us go ahead and create some rectangle objects. So I will say rectangle 1 is equal to rectangle and I will pass 10 for length and 5 for width. Next, I will copy this two more times and I will change this to 2 and 3 and let me have 7 and 7 here, okay, which makes it a square. I will have 12 and 4 here. Alright. Now, let me print rectangle 1 dot length. Okay. When I run this, I get 10 as the output, right? And if I change this to rectangle 3 dot width and if I run this, I get 4 as the output, right? We know how to do this. But what happens if I try to print rectangle 3 directly to the console? Here is what happens. We are given a memory address here. This is not what we want. And so what we can do is we can customize this behavior using double underscore str double underscore method. Okay. So let me show you how to do that. Here in the class of rectangle, I will define a dunder method, double underscores str and double underscores. Okay. It takes only self and inside I will return an f string. Okay. So I will say rectangle with length self dot length and width self dot width. All right. So what this magic method double underscore str double underscore method does is it returns this f string instead of returning a memory address. Okay. Now when I run the program, I get rectangle with length 12 and width 4. And when I run this, I get rectangle with length 10 and width 5. Alright. So when we try to print an object directly, then this method gets called automatically. Okay. If I have rectangle 1 dot length, then it would be printed as normal. But if we try to print an object directly like this, then this double underscore method gets called and rectangle 1 will be passed to self and then this will be printed out. So rectangle 1 dot length and rectangle 1 dot width will be fetched and it will be printed out like this. Alright. So this is used to return a string representation of the object when we print it directly to the console. Okay. Yes. Let us learn the next dunder method. Here I will say double equal to and I will say rectangle 2. Okay. I want to check if two objects are equal. When I run this, I get false as the output. Now this is given by default. Even if two rectangles had the same dimensions, Python would say that they are not equal unless they are the very same object in memory. Okay. So let us customize this behavior using double underscore eq double underscore method. Okay. So here I will say double underscore eq for equal double underscore. Okay. And in the brackets I will say self and other. Okay. Self is the first rectangle that we are examining. Okay. And other means the other rectangle we are examining for equality. Okay. Now, what can we compare or what can we check? We can check if the area of this rectangle is equal to the area of this rectangle. Right? So let us do that. Here I will say return self dot length multiplied by self dot width is equal to other dot length multiplied by other dot width. Okay. Now here self dot length into self dot width gives us the area of the first rectangle. Other dot length into other dot width gives us the area of the second rectangle. And we are comparing if they are equal. Okay. So now when I run this, I get false as the output because the area of first rectangle and the area of second rectangle are not equal. So let me create one more rectangle by the name rectangle 4 and let me have the same length and width in both. Now here I will say rectangle 4. So now I am comparing if rectangle 1 is equal to rectangle 4. When I run this, I get true as the output because this and this are equal, meaning the area of this and this are equal. Okay. Now, what happens when this line gets executed? When this line gets executed, Python notices that we are checking for equality between two objects. And when it sees this dunder method gets called automatically behind the scenes. Okay? Rectangle 1 will be passed to self. Rectangle 4 will be passed to other. Rectangle 1 dot length into rectangle 1 dot width will be calculated and it will be compared with rectangle 4 dot length into rectangle 4 dot width. If it is equal, true would be displayed as the output. If it is not equal, false would be displayed as the output. Alright. So this method gets called automatically when it sees this and when it sees that we are checking for equality between two objects. Okay. Now let me change this to less than symbol and now let me run this. When I run this, I get an error, a type error, and this is because we cannot compare two objects directly like this, but we can customize this behavior by using LT magic method. LT standing for lower than. Okay. So let us do that now. Here I will say def and I will use double underscore LT for less than double underscore method. And inside I will say self and other. Okay. We are comparing one rectangle with the other rectangle. Okay. So what are we comparing now? Let us compare if the area of rectangle 1 is less than the area of rectangle 4 and we will return a boolean value according to the result. Okay. So I will copy this and I will paste it here and I will change this to less than symbol. Okay. Now when I run this, I get false as the output because this comes out as false. Area of rectangle 1 is not less than area of rectangle 4 because they are equal. Okay. So let me change this to 2 and when I run this, I get false. Let me change this to 3 and I get false. Okay. So what happens when this line gets executed? When this line gets executed, Python notices that we are checking if this object is less than this object, and when it sees this, the LT method, dunder method, magic method gets called automatically. Okay. Rectangle 1 will be passed to self, rectangle 3 will be passed to other. The area of rectangle 1 will be calculated, the area of rectangle 3 will be calculated and it will check if the area of rectangle 1 is less than area of rectangle 3. If this comes out as true, then the output would be true. If this comes out as false, the output would be false. All right. So this is about LT dunder method. Now let me change this to greater than and let me run this. When I run this, I get true as the output. Now what Python is doing here is it is telling us the value of this, okay, not rectangle 1 less than rectangle 3, all right, and it is giving us the result. But we do not want this. We want Python to check this properly, and so what we can do is we can have the dunder gt method, okay, gt for greater than, all right. So it takes the same parameters, but here this would be greater than, okay. So now when I run this, I get the same output true, but then it is calculating this instead of doing this, okay. When it sees this symbol between two objects, this dunder method gets called automatically, all right. So let me delete this. Now let us use add dunder method to add the areas of two rectangles together, okay. So here I will change this to plus and I will run this, but I know I will get an error because we have not defined the add dunder method. So what I will do is I will copy this and paste it here and change this to add, okay. I will now change this to plus and have brackets here, okay, just to avoid confusion, all right. Now when I run the program, let me zoom out, okay. Now when I run the program, I get 98 as the output, and this is the result of this dunder method, okay. When Python sees that we are trying to add two objects, this dunder method gets called automatically. Rectangle 1 will be passed to self, rectangle 3 will be passed to other, and this will be done and it will be returned, okay. So the areas of two rectangles will be added and will be returned, okay. So these are some of the magic methods, also known as dunder methods, meaning double underscore methods. They are automatically called by many of Python's built-in operations, and they allow developers to define or customize the behavior of objects when we use those built-in operations, all right. Yes, apart from these, there are many other magic methods too, which you will learn slowly throughout your career, all right.